Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello, my students. Peace be upon you. How are you? Today we are going to study English with my third secondary school students. Our student book today in level 6, unit 5, reference and revision, page number 58, grammar reference, modal verbs of obligation, prohibition, and advice in present simple. Okay. Use. We use have to talk about things which are obligatory or necessary. Okay. So when we use have to, we talk about things which are obligatory or necessary. It often describes obligations imposed on us by other people and authorities. We use don't have to talk about things which are not obligatory or necessary. So when we use have to, we talk about obligatory, something which obligatory or necessary. But when we use don't have to, تمام? Okay, we talk about not something which not obligatory or necessary. Okay, we use must to talk about rules, regulations, and obligations. It often describes obligations that come internally from ourselves. Okay, this thing this thing comes from ourselves. So we use must to describe obligations that come internally, okay, about ourselves.
We use mustn't to talk about prohibitions. That means it's forbidden. Okay. We use need to talk about things which are obligatory or necessary. Okay. Have to, don't have to, must, mustn't, need to. We use don't need to or needn't to talk about things which are not obligatory or necessary. Okay, we use don't need to or needn't to talk about things which are not obligatory or necessary. With needn't, we don't use to before the infinitive. We use can't to refuse permission. To refuse permission, we use what? Yes, we use can't. We use shouldn't, ought to, had better, to give and ask for advice and recommendations. Had better is especially for when we think we should do something because it's a good idea. Okay? When we want to use a good idea, we use had better. Okay? Ought to and had better are slightly less common in negative and question forms. Okay, so our modal verbs of obligation, prohibition, and advice in present are have to, don't have to, must, mustn't, need to, don't need to, or needn't, okay, can't, should, shouldn't, ought to, had better, ought to, or had better. Okay, and now let's answer our exercise on page 59. Okay, on page 59, exercise number 1. Choose the correct alternative in two sentences. Both alternatives are correct. Choose the correct alternative in two sentences. Both alternatives are correct. Okay, sentence number 1. Ready? Okay, you needn't or don't need come to class tomorrow. You needn't, don't need come to class tomorrow. We will choose yes, needn't. Okay, you needn't come to class tomorrow. Number 2, you mustn't or aren't allowed to take your own food into a restaurant. Hmm? Yes, true. Mustn't or aren't allowed to. The both are correct. You mustn't or you aren't allowed to take your own food into a restaurant. Number 3, usually at university, you mustn't or you don't have to go to classes all day. The answer is yes, don't have to. Usually at university, you don't have to go to classes all day. Yes, my students. Number 4, you had better not or shouldn't hand in your work late. The answer is yes, the both are correct. You had better not or you shouldn't hand in your work late. Number 5, should or ought we leave at 6 o'clock? The answer is yes, should. Should we leave at 6 o'clock? Should we leave at 6 o'clock? Number 6, you don't have to or you mustn't leave your bags unattended at an airport. Yes, the answer is mustn't. You mustn't leave your bags unattended at an airport. Okay, thank you.